salty, salty. Hang on, I don't have ducking set up on this machine, do I? Looks like that's something I need to do, huh? Just setting up my filters. So my microphone is the source. The ratio will be 32 threshold. Be at minus 45. Okay, we're getting better. Attack at 15. Release at 170. And let's just make the media so there we go. Now you can hear me. Okay. I had to set up my my audio ducking so that you all could hear me. Dragon X Core, thank you very much for the follow. You followed me yesterday. I wasn't even live yesterday. I appreciate that. So for those of you who may be new here, I am Wanda Lotus. You may call me Lotus. And I am primarily a street photographer. And what I like to do, oh my goodness gracious. Oh no, I'm not using my computer audio, so I don't have to worry about that. But I will leave that for now. And I'm not worrying about screen capture at the moment. I'm just doing Corel AfterShot. Okay. Allow me to introduce myself. I am Lotus, and I need to close my other laptop before it outright dies on me, since I don't have it plugged in. There we go. I am a street photographer, which means I go out with my camera and make photos of whatever happens to be capturing my interest. Today I was out running errands with my partner. We had a whole lot of running around to do. And I ended up, I left my camera at home on purpose. Wait, let me make sure that this audio is working the way I want it to. Hold on. It is, thank goodness. Okay. I left my DSLR at home on purpose because I had a lot of heavy stuff in my knapsack, and my DSLR is heavy in and of itself, so I didn't need that extra weight on my back. But I did have my phone's camera, and my philosophy is the best camera to use is the camera that you have with you. So, since that's the camera I had with me, that is the one I chose to use today while I was out doing street photography. That was a little bit too red, a little bit too warm there. So, while I was waiting for my partner to finish one of their errands, I decided to entertain myself by making photos. We happened to be in a food store, and that means I did a lot of food photography. Now, here's the funny thing. I have another channel. On that channel, I stream primarily my gameplay of The Sims 4. And when I came in, I was pretty much peopled out. So I decided I would not stream. So I did not stream. And as I was editing photos, I said, oh my goodness, this would be a great opportunity to stream on this channel for a change. Completely forgot about saying that I wasn't going to stream. And immediately logged in over here and began streaming. That is how the creativity juices sometimes go. We have our mind made up to do one thing or not do something, and we end up doing that thing anyway. Okay, let me close this. Closing something that I don't need on my other computer. And what I am going to do on that computer is monitor my Twitch. So that, it's good to have a backup for a backup. And I also need to make sure that I have the volume turned down there so that things are not wonky. I do not need that. Thank you. So, as I was saying, I was out with my partner, and I decided to use my phone's camera to make some photos. And I will show you the photos that I did. I was actually editing them. Most of the time I don't do serious photography using my phone. I saved that for my DSLR. But that's not the camera that I had today. Ooh, I like that. Setting up something on my other laptop. Where is that? I'm looking for. I also have to set my stream info. Seeing sources, control, stats. Hello, where is that? Where is that? It's been so long since I've fiddled around with OBS that I've forgotten how to find some things. That's how it goes sometimes, No, I don't want the Twitch chat. What I want are is my stream info. All right, I'll have to do that. a different way. Just want to tweak my stream info really quick. Because I'm going to let people see on my other channel what I'm doing here. I have a lot more followers over there, but some of them may be interested in seeing what I'm doing over here. So I'll put streaming on Wanda the Lotus by photo. My photography channel. Twitch. I can spell. Honest, I can spell. Twitch.tv/Wanda the Lotus while I edit. Phone. Camera, phone, photos. And the category. The category is art. I can delete that. I can keep those. That is done. And now I can stream there. And this way, people can know that I am live. Okay. Alrighty, now to the important part. The important part is my photos. So I took a bunch of photos today, and I actually decided to start organizing my camera phone photos the same way I organize my DSLR photos, which is something I don't often do. Usually I'll just dump them in my in one folder, and then eventually I'll get around to organizing them. But this time, oh goodness gracious, great balls of fire. I have confused myself with much confusing. There, that's what I want. Okay. Alrighty. Oh, if I want to check that, then I'll need to do that on my other browser. I have too many browser windows open. Just bear with me for one more minute while I get things set up the way I really want them. I'm going to have to mute that real quick. There we go. Okay, good. Now what I want from there, okay, that is what I want. Yes. All right. Awesome. Very awesome. I can close that now, close this window, and give my photos my undivided attention. So these are all of the photos I made today with my camera phone. And like I said, my philosophy is the best camera to use is the camera you have with me. And the camera I had with me was the camera on my smartphone. So rather than bellyaching about what I might have been able to do if I had had my DSLR with me, I had operated within the limitations of my camera phone and was able to make some photos that I'm very happy with. I was just starting to edit this one of some potatoes. No, actually I finished editing this one. I love the detail on that. Look at this. It's just exquisite. You can see the texture in the skin, and also in the, I guess that's where the vine connects, the eye, maybe that's where they call it an eye, where the vine originally connected to it. It was plucked up out of the ground, and the color is amazing. So what I'm going to do, actually, I'm going to export this because I'm exporting these photos to share in my Instagram stories. So let's move on to the next one. And I deliberately, so this is the photo normally. So I made 2 shots of this post, this steel beam with graffiti on it. And eRose86, thank you very much for the follow. I appreciate you. Hope you enjoy watching me edit my photos from today. I need to make sure I have my headphones, because I need to hear when there are alerts. That's one thing that I didn't do. Now, crud. My phone is in the other room, so I cannot easily disconnect the Bluetooth. So I'm going to have to do this the hard way. Now, the funny thing is this is a new computer to me. And okay, now I have the sound so that I can hear notifications. This is a new computer to me. I just bought a new computer last month. It's a little bit more than a month ago. And I have not yet found the headphone jack, if there is one, on this machine. So I have to use Bluetooth headphones until I actually make the time to sit down and find out if there is a headphone jack on this computer. Which is why I was fiddling around with getting my headphones to connect to this computer, but I did it. So anyway, as I was saying, I made 2 different shots of this I-beam. This is just with the regular camera phone settings. And then here I used the portrait view. Now I don't like the fact that there's a car passing by and that I didn't take another one when there wasn't a car passing by, but I do like that the portrait view blurs the background, but it leaves the I-beam, which is what I had focused on as the subject, it leaves that nice and sharp and in focus. So I'm going to use this shot rather than the other one, and I'm just straightening it up some because I cannot do a straight horizon with a handheld camera to save my life, and this is why we appreciate being able to straighten images in software. Of course, that also means that you have to be real particular about how much of the frame you fill up, because when you straighten images, then you do end up losing some stuff on the edges. And actually, you can see here with the crop square, that or even if you just look at the image, because I straightened it, you can see that the sides of the image are crooked. So when I crop, there's only so much that I'll be able to get, but that's okay. That is okay. We don't mind that. We'll just get the important stuff, like so. That actually came out even better than I anticipated it. And again, I really don't like that the car is in the background, but you know, there's not much I can do about that. I could go into GIMP and do some very extensive editing to remove the car, but I don't feel like doing that. So I'm not going to. What I am going to do though, there's a little spot that's on the car that's brighter than everything else. And the way the human eye works is our eyes are naturally drawn to the brightest spots in an image. So I was able to get rid of that one And if I add a healing layer, I'd like to, let's see, how do I do this again? I have not done this in a while. I want to get rid of this bright spot there. Oh, I see. Okay, let me delete that. And the first most important thing to do would go to 100% of the image so I can actually see what I'm working with here. And what I really want to do is clone that spot. So let's make it much smaller. And I'm going to go into clone mode. Let's get rid of the feathering. And I want to clone from the darker part of the car onto that spot. Now that's obviously it's not smooth. And that's the issue with getting rid of the feathering. It makes the clone very apparent. So let's decrease the size by half. I'm going to decrease it to 20. And let's decrease the size of the feather by half to 10. Okay, now I'm going to move this. And now I want to slide that back. I'll see if it makes it less obvious. Makes it a little less obvious. Now, in the long run, this is only going on Instagram for now. So, more than likely, no one will be able to see that spot. However, I want to try to make it as inconspicuous as possible. So that probably means I need to find a better spot to clone from. Let's try that closer to it. No, let's try healing or blemish. So each of these different modes has its own pros and cons. I don't know enough about the technical details to be able to say this is what this one does versus this is what the other one does. I just know that they work differently. And so if one doesn't do what I want it to do, I know enough to try a different one and see if maybe that works better for me. So now I'm making it a little bit bigger and see how it's blending better now. If I increase the feathering, then that blends it even more. Let's increase the size up just another smidge. That was way too much. Well, then again, it's at 32 and now it's blended in almost perfectly. I mean, you would really have to be nitpicking to be able to tell that something was cloned out there. So I'm going to leave that one and I'm going to go to this spot here where it's a similar problem. I want to pick just the right spot to heal the blemish. And that's a little bit too dark, which is why it's so obvious. So I'm gonna go a little bit higher up where the light is closer. Now again, this is one of those things where you're gonna have to really be nitpicky to tell that that was blended. I want to get it to the point where you would have to be really nitpicky about it. There, and see, I made the spot larger, and now see how it's blending more evenly. Now if I reduce the feathering, then it becomes more obvious. So feathering, what feathering does is it makes the edges of the spot that you are blending or cloning fuzzier. So it's not so sharp of a difference, and it just makes the edges of that area that you've cloned blend in more smoothly to everything else. So at this setting here, it's far less obvious that any kind of blemish healing or whatnot was done. So if I go back, now looking at, you don't see those two really obvious, distracting bright spots on the passenger side mirror of the car that was passing by. So now the viewer's eye is more likely to be drawn to this bright yellow I-beam with graffiti on it, which is what I want. So mission accomplished, I say. I'm going to make this a little bit brighter. And let me see if there's any other detail type stuff. I really don't need to enable noise removal. This was made on a very bright day in a very bright spot, so there's not going to be much digital noise. I don't want to turn it to black and white. I can enable vignetting. Now what vignetting does is, the way I have it set up, it darkens the area around the subject that I'm focusing on. So like I said earlier, our eyes tend to automatically be drawn to what is brightest in an image. So when you add a vignette, and let me increase the strength to the maximum to make it ridiculously clear. So when you add a vignette, the vignette is the darker area that you can see around the edges of the image now. So it darkens everything outside of the circle, and it makes the viewer automatically focus on the brighter area, which is the subject. Now, I don't need my vignette to be that obvious. I want to use the subtle one. So this is without the vignette. You can see the outside of the image is just as bright as the inside. When I enable vignetting, it's very subtle. But the outsides of the images got just a little bit dimmer. And if I want, I can make the vignette a little bit stronger. And you can see it's very subtle, but it's gradually dimming the outer edges of the image. And that just makes this bright area in the center, bright yellow area with the graffiti, more obvious. That's exactly what I want. So let me go back here. If I wanted to, I could make it a little bit brighter, but I don't think I will. Add a little bit more. Actually, I won't add any more sharpening because when I export the images, they're automatically sharpened. What I do want to do is add keywords. And I want to add keywords that will help me find this later. So I have some keywords saved in sets, so it makes it very easy for me to add them. So like the color yellow, for example, I'll add that. And I'm not sure really, I mean, something like steel. I don't know if I already have steel as a keyword. So I'm scrolling down to see if I have it. I don't think so. I don't have steel. I don't have I-beam. I don't have pillow. Please excuse my mouse. I have a magic mouse on this iMac, and I've just got to admit that I hate the thing because it is touch sensitive, meaning the surface of the mouse acts like a trackpad. So I can't just touch the mouse and move my fingers any old kind of how, because it will react to it as though I'm working on a trackpad. And as someone who has done trackpads well, who opts to use a mouse instead of a trackpad for this reason. um, I'm I seriously need to make a mental note to myself to replace this magic mouse with a standard mouse because I don't like that. All right. I let me look under. Oh, why do I have one thing architecture by itself? Um, yeah, I don't have any other keywords that would make sense. So I'm just going to leave the color yellow. More than likely, oh, wait, graffiti. That would be a great one to add. Let me see. Let me see. Oh, and I can put this in the series People Were Here. People Were Here is a photography series where things like graffiti or like if I photograph a lost object, say maybe a sock hanging out on the sidewalk by itself, those photos go into this series. There's another one, and it specifically uses the word graffiti, and I need to remember what that series was. Oh my goodness, Backseat Photographer is in the wrong place. Backseat Photographer is another series that I do when I make photos while I'm riding in a moving vehicle. So say I'm on the bus and I'm photographing what's going on out on the sidewalk and stuff. That's what, darn it, that's what Backseat Photographer is about. I clicked on one of the keywords because, like I said, this mouse is a pain in my patootie. So let me go back to the photo I was editing, which was this one. And I want to make sure to flag it. Now, I'm looking for my series that includes the word graffiti. And I think that would be under LLFA themes, urban landscapes. That doesn't include the word graffiti, but it could also go into the urban landscapes series. I'd rather put it in People Were Here, though. That makes more sense. It looks like I need to go through and fix up some of my keywords. That's something that I can do off stream. I would rather just edit photos while I'm hanging out here with y'all. So I have created a batch preset. Oh yeah, my photo editing software is Corel AfterShot Pro, Corel AfterShot Pro 3. So in this software, you can create batch presets where if you know you want to always send certain photos to export them to a certain folder on your computer, you want them to have certain settings, you want them to have a certain watermark, then you can set those batch presets. So I made one whenever I'm doing Instagram stories, for example, for my lotuslandfineart Instagram account. So I'm going to send that photo there. And then that way, when I'm scheduling my IG stories, I just look in that folder and I see that I have photos there that I want to share. And I go ahead and schedule them from there. Now, these next photos are close-ups that I did of that same I-beam. So there's this one. And there's this one. I think I want to use this one instead because, oh, here we go again with that mouse. I like the detail, not just of the remnants of paper like you see here in this version of the photo, but in this version, you have some remnants of what was probably tape, and you just see more details of the wear and tear. So this is also going to go in People Were Here. This one I don't really need any kind of vignetting for because there aren't distracting background elements. I want the viewer to look at everything that's in this frame. I do, however, want to crop it for Instagram. So Instagram uses a 16 by 9. What do they call it? It's 16 by 9 is the ratio. So Instagram uses a 16 by 9 aspect ratio for their stories. So when I know that I want to send something to my stories, then I'll crop the image to their 16 by 9 aspect ratio, and that way I know for a fact that everything in that image is going to show up on the story. Otherwise, I have to position the image in a certain way, or I end up having blank space around the image. Sometimes that's okay. Most of the time I prefer not to do that. So I'll just crop the image, and then I know that everything that's left in the frame is actually going to show up in my story. Let me see. I really don't have to do much to this image. I just did some standard sharpening on it because everything that comes out of every camera can use sharpening. And I like my photos nice and sharp. Let's see, I put that in People Were Here. There was something else I was getting ready to do before I exported it. I don't think it's going anywhere else. Okay, so let me go ahead and export this one. If I think of it later, I can always go back into the software. And, I remember. I want to add the keyword. So I have these photos that I do studies where I made the photo just because of the light, or I made the photo just because of certain patterns and textures, or the perspective, or the light contrast. I did this one because I specifically wanted the patterns and textures on this I-beam. So I want to add it to the patterns and textures keyword. I want to add the patterns and textures keyword to it. And now I can go ahead and export this for my Instagram stories. Okie dokie. Let me turn on the light real quick because it's 8:30 p.m. here in New York City, and we have a beautiful sunset out the window. I'm a sunset lover. And this is the time of year where we can actually watch the sun slip below the horizon from our living room windows. Not our living room, from our bedroom windows. I'm in the living room, so I can't actually see the sun slipping below the horizon. And I wouldn't be able to anyway because the sun has already gone down. But that beautiful orange and gold glow is out on the horizon right now. I do a lot of sunset photos this time of year, especially because I don't have to leave home to do them. Now, if I had been closer, or if I had my DSLR, I would have zoomed in so that the woman would have been more in the frame. I can still do something like this. The issue with cropping a photo made on a phone's camera is that the sensor that records the images is very, very small already. So when you crop a photo, you end up with the image looks more pixelated. Granted, it's not going to be as much of an issue because I'm posting this to Instagram. 9 times out of 10, someone's going to be looking at Instagram on their phone screen, which is not that large to begin with. So I could create a story out of this image, and I may at some point, but I think I would prefer this one that shows the perspective. This is a perspective shot. But the main reason why I made this photo is because I really like the colors. For one thing, it was a bright sunny day. There wasn't a cloud in the sky. The sky is bright blue. And then you have this very colorful wall with graffiti on the right hand side. So this will definitely go in my People Were Here series, so I'll add that keyword. And I want to put this on Instagram, so I'm going to crop for the Instagram aspect ratio of 16:9. I don't want to leave too much sky. Sometimes having a lot of empty space is a good thing. In this case, I think it would make the image kind of boring. So I'm cropping out a bunch of the sidewalk and a bunch of the sky so that I get a nice balance between the sky, the sidewalk, and the wall. Now I'm not sure. I may want to also crop some of this going on the side just because, it's kind of distracting. It really doesn't add anything to the image. It gives a sense of place, but I want to balance between giving a sense of place and also showing off what I really want to show. I move this over a bit because it felt like I was scrunched up against the wall the way I had the crop position. Now I feel like I'm against the wall, but like I have some breathing room, So I am going to go with this crop, and I'll add sharpening so the image is sharper, and it's looking a little warm, like there's a bit of a yellow tint to the image that I really don't want. So let's do some color adjusting. Now generally, actually before I do that, let me see if do I want to adjust the exposure? I'll make it a little bit brighter. Well, sometimes it's fun just to peg the slider all the way to one side just to see what you're working with. But I think the exposure is pretty much fine. Let me go back to the color. Now, usually, if I want to get rid of some of the yellow, usually I would adjust the white balance. However, this is a phone photo. It shoots JPEGs. JPEG format, for whatever reason, in Corel AfterShot Pro 3, I cannot adjust the temperature, can't adjust the white balance. But what I can do, since I know a little bit about color management, is going into my curves. I can select my blue curve, and I can, let me see, if I want to make it more yellow or warmer, I would bring the blue curve down. And now you're seeing a lot of yellow, a lot of green. I don't want that. I actually want to make this a little less warm. So that means I'll bring my blue curve up. Now, the further up I bring it, there's more and more blue in the image. We don't want too much blue. Again, it's about finding that happy balance that makes your eyes happy. So, still a little bit too warm. Let's see, am I looking for more blue in the shadows, or am I looking for more blue in the foreground? I'm not sure. Maybe what I need to do is make the colors more vibrant. And this is a cool thing with photography too. You can just experiment until you're happy. Let me go ahead and correct the curves back to what they were. And let me change the vibrance. Oh, now that made the sky bluer. You know what? Maybe what I need to do is take the red down some. So rather than messing with the blue curve, let's mess with the red curve. And if I take the red down, let's see. Okay, we see more blue appearing. More blue and more green is appearing in the image. So this is what it usually looks like. And if I take it down just a touch, that was not a touch, mouse. Please cooperate with me. If I take it down just a touch, I'm not sure. There's too much green for me. Now there's another way to do this, and if I can't get it looking the way I want this way, I'm going to play. Oh, wait, there we go. I see how I brought the green down and those green tints. Wait, let me take it where it was. So I brought the red down just a little bit. And you see how there's a lot of green in the image? So if I adjust just the green curve and bring the green down more, now that green is disappearing. And I'm seeing more of that blue like I originally wanted to see. So that looks more like what I wanted. It could stand to have a little bit more red removed. That was too much. So I can do that. And then fiddle with the green a little bit more. Now I don't want the blue to overtake everything. So I'm going to leave that like so. Now this just dulls all of the colors just a little bit. Some of my photos I like to do that way. This one I don't think so. Now there is another way to do color correction. Rather than doing it with the curves, I can do it in the color correction or color balance. And I think what I'm going to do is reset the curves to what they originally were. And let me see if I can get an even better result by using the color balance sliders. So right now I feel like there's too much green. So I'm going to slide more to the magenta side. So, and it was very subtle, but I can see on my screen that right here you have more of a green tint. If I slide it over just a little bit, the green is disappearing and there's somewhat of a red. So let me slide more on the cyan side down from the red and see what that does. So that makes the green stand out because I've slid the cyan and red slider down below the magenta and green slider. So if I put it in the same place, that seems a little bit better. Seems to be kind of yellow. There. Now I added a lot more blue. And that's really what I wanted. I wanted the blue of the sky to really stand out. And by moving the yellow and blue slider more on the blue side, then that's what happened. I have more blue. It gives the image a little bit of a blue cast, but in this case, I don't mind because it was a bright blue a bright blue sky, and the blue of the sky was really what I wanted to focus on. Now, what happens if I increase the contrast? Okay, so if I increase the contrast, the shadows are more shadowy and the highlights are more highlight-y. So there is that. Let me see. There, okay. I was just checking my other monitor and making sure that everything was okay. There was something that I have wanted. Oh, I had it in this monitor here. Let me go to that other page. It's a different web browser. And I just need to check something out. Make sure everything is kosher. Okay, it's good. It's very good. I'm pleased. Okay. So I'll close that now. Okay. So I think I've mostly got this the way I want. I need to make sure Okay, usually around this time of day, I have this software that will change my monitor's colors to warmer colors. Because blue light, there's been studies that show that blue light can disrupt our circadian rhythms. So by changing my monitor's colors to warmer colors, then that makes it less likely that the blue light from my computer screen will disrupt my circadian rhythms. The problem with that is if I'm editing photos, then the colors that I'm looking at on the screen are not accurate. So I've set the software to disable that warming function on my computer monitor when I'm using Corel AfterShot Pro, because when I'm editing photos, I want to see the actual photos. All right, so this one is the way I want it. I'm going to export that to my Instagram story. Let's see what else I have in here to work with. So the computer that I upgraded to is an iMac. Before I was working on a 50, that was the last photo. I was working on a 15-inch MacBook Pro, which was wonderful and fantastic. And then I switched to an iMac with, what is this, a 24-inch screen. And I got to tell you, editing photos on this thing is a religious experience. This is actually the first brand new Mac that I've bought in quite a long time. It was a very good investment. Unexpected investment. I was pretty much forced to do it because my MacBook Pro was struggling, but I'm glad that I did it. E. Rose, hello. I'm so glad you're here. I wasn't able to say hello before, but just wanted to say hi. You seem like you really enjoy teaching. I I'm not sure. I love talking about photography. I'll put it that way. And I love sharing what I know about photography. I remember when I first started shooting seriously back in 2007, there were some people who were not very good about sharing what they knew, and they'd say, oh, just read, or, oh, you'll figure it out over time. And, fair enough. That's, you can just read and you can figure stuff out over time. But the people who I really appreciated were the photographers who didn't mind explaining what they were doing, why they were doing what they were doing. And I decided that's the kind of photographer that I prefer to be as well. So that's why I do this. These are the photos that I am going to share from today. So these I edited before I actually went live. So I think these are some mangoes. We were in the grocery store. My partner was shopping. I am not your typical woman in any kind of store. I do not like to shop. I do not like to window shop. I do not like to hang out and just see what's on the shelves. Usually when I go into a store, I'm going in there because I have a list, and I have already, especially if it's a store I go to regularly, I've already plotted my path through the store so that I can get through and pick up everything I need and get out as quickly as possible. My partner doesn't shop like that. My partner will check out all the shelves, see what's there, whatever. So I decided to entertain myself while he shopped, and I made photos with my phone. So this was one of them. I get that I'm self-taught as well. Oh, cool. But that was always so frustrating. Yeah, I never liked to keep secrets. Everything I learned was a result of someone else, so why keep it a secret? Spread the knowledge and the love. Exactly. I think people are really afraid of competition. Like, everything is a competition for them. So if they share knowledge, they share information, somebody else might be, I don't know, better than them, become more popular than them, or whatever. And I mean, I get that. In my time, in my years when I was really longing for popularity and a large audience, then I could feel Yeah, I would be tempted to not share information, but even then, I felt like I have all of this information and it's so great. Why should I sit on it just because I'm afraid someone else might become more popular than I am? I don't know. It just didn't make sense. That's not the way I want to live my life. And that now that I'm not so married to the idea of becoming popular or well known or whatever you want to call it, then it's even easier. I'll just share the information, whatever, do with it what you will. And I really like the mindset that some creatives have that says there's enough room for everybody, there's an audience for everybody. So, yeah, share the information, share the love, and other people will find their audience just like you'll find your audience. If an audience is what you want, not everybody is concerned about having an audience. Who is the photographer, the street photographer, um, who her photos were found after Vivian Mayer. Vivian Mayer, she was a street photographer. She wasn't interested in an audience for most of her life. I think towards the end of her life, she was talking about showing her photos, but for most of her life, she just took photos just for the pleasure of taking them. So, yeah, it doesn't have to be about finding an audience. Not everything needs to be content, contrary to what a lot of influencers try to tell you. This is a macro of a pineapple. I've seen pineapples before. I've seen them up close before, but you know what? There's always something new to see. Like, I really like the ridges in the rind here. Now, that I had never really paid attention to, but that's fascinating to me. And it's really cool that I was able to capture this with my phone's camera. Some bananas, of course. This was one of the hardworking people stocking the shelves. He was working in the produce section, and I had to make a photo of him as part of my street photographer's eye. Caught him, and I just had to make a photo of him. Especially with the stuff that's going on in Florida right now with the migrant workers leaving because there was the governor down there had passed a bill which basically put them at risk in some way. I don't know the details, but I do know that whatever it was that he did, all of the migrant workers or most of the migrant workers left. And, a lot of the farmers are up shit's creek, quite frankly, because they can't find people to do the job the way the migrant people would do the job. You got to have respect for the people who do this kind of work. It's hard work. And if hard work was really paid the way it should be paid, people like this guy would be some of the wealthiest folk in the world. But it's not. The way I pay them is by honoring them through my photography. So I had to capture him. Oh my goodness, that's me. Entertaining myself while my partner was shopping. This is a macro of an aloe leaf. And this one I think I would love to redo with my DSLR. Because like I was explaining before, a digital camera, records the images on a sensor. So the smaller the sensor, the less details that camera is able to capture. The larger the sensor, the more details in every square centimeter you're able to capture just because the sensor is larger. The sensor in a camera phone is tiny, quite frankly. The sensor in my DSLR, my big camera, it's a full frame sensor. So that sensor is the size of a postage stamp, and it can capture a lot more detail than my phone camera was able to do, even in macro mode. That may change over time as the technology advances, but right now, that is the status of it. And I knew that making the macro photo. I just wanted the photo, and I didn't have the other camera. I had my phone camera, so I used the camera I had. This was the produce section. All of these yummy vegetables. We are very fortunate that we live in a place where we have easy access to fresh produce. Not everybody has that privilege. Not even here in the United States. Everybody does not have that privilege. This was the tea aisle. We drink a lot of tea in our house. So, of course, we had to stop in the tea aisle. Close-ups of some potatoes. 2 close-ups of potatoes. Honestly, I like the second photo better, but I do like them both. But I think what I like the most about the second photo is the color. And I'm not sure if it was a different basket of potatoes or if I just edited this photo slightly differently. Whatever it is, I like them both. This was the steel I-beam that I did in portrait mode so that I would end up with a blurred background. And I'm really happy with how that came out. And this is a close-up of one section of that steel I-beam. And then here is it's taking its time loading all the details. You see how pixelated this is? There we go. Now it loaded more. So this was that last photo that I had been messing with. So now, let me go back up to my library. I have lots more photos in my phone and tablet folder that I need to go through and organize, put them in proper folders. I've just been dumping a whole bunch of photos regardless of year into this folder, and I want to be able to find stuff more easily, and in order to do that, that means I need to organize them and put them in folders. So, so much of me. I need to put those in my selfies folder. Before I go, it's been an hour, and that was the end of the photos that I wanted to edit today. But before I go, I can show you, not that one, a little bit of what I do with my, sunset photos, what I do with my large camera. And one thing I want to point out, now I made this photo with my DSLR. This is the sunset just a month ago, actually, April 24th, the folder says. And you can see that this image is not as pixelated as the camera photo images that I was just showing you. And that's because my DSLR has the much larger sensor, so it's able to just capture a lot more information, a lot more details than a camera phone photo is. So if you look, even when I zoom in, right now it's loading some of the details. You can see the clouds are a little bit pixelated, but even when I zoom in, it takes me zooming in for the image to look pixelated. And then when I zoom back out, everything looks nice and smooth. This was just before the sun started to slip below the horizon. Let me filter again so I only get photos that I flagged. I believe I already shared this image on my personal Instagram account. And this was the version of the image that I shared in my Instagram stories. And then when I do street photography with my big camera, these are some recent photos. Those someone had asked me to make some photos of their office for their website, so I did that for them. These are the only images that I made in May. Well, they're the only street photography images that I made in May. A better way for me to see what's what is to go down into photo info, and I will look at photos only by like the year, the month, the day. I want to see my most recent photos because I have a bunch of DSLR photos that I need to edit as well. Oh, that's not what I want. Thank you, Magic Mouse. Thanks, but no thanks, Magic Mouse. Oh, I still need to go through my Bronx Zoo photos. I went to the Bronx Zoo 2 weeks ago, as a matter of fact, 2 Fridays ago, and made a bunch of photos while I was there. This is one of my street photography photos. I just like walking around with my camera and just making photos of what I see, photographing everyday life. This goes under street photography, so I will keyword that. And this was done in the Bronx, so I will keyword it Bronx. And this will probably be, as I said, I wasn't going to edit any more photos, a black and white photo. I need it to be brighter, like so. And I don't, let me see what happens if I make the blacks blacker. That gives it a nice contrast. I think, though, I would like to crop. What would it look like if I cropped out that half of that lady and the one-way sign? Text can sometimes be distracting when the text is not does not really add value to the image. So I cropped out the one-way sign. And now I think it looks a little bit more interesting. You know, you can actually focus more on the people who are in the center of the frame as opposed to some of the distracting elements, say, on the edges of the frame. And this will probably go on my Patreon account, which, while I'm talking about it, let me see if I have that. Let me put the link to my Patreon. I don't even know what commands I have. Do I have any commands? Let's find out. Let me see. What do I use? Is it Night? I think I use Nightbot for my commands. And I shall see if I have any commands set up for this channel. I do. Okay, sweet. I do not, however, have oh my goodness. I do not have my Patreon in the command. Well, let's fix that. No better time than the present while I'm thinking about it. Patreon.com/WLotus. There. And now I can share my socials with you all in the chat. If Nightbot cooperates. Let's see if Nightbot will cooperate. Let's see here. Nightbot, wake up, Nightbot. Are you even in the chat, Nightbot? You know what I'll do? I'll just go ahead and paste all of this in the chat, and then I can deal with Nightbot later. There we go. Okay, so these are the links to other places that you can find me. My website is lotuslandfineart.com. That's where you can find my online portfolio. You can contact me through the website. You can order prints, all kinds of stuff. I want to set up a more automated system for prints. Right now, the best way to order prints is you see the print that you want, and then you contact me through the website, and I believe my prices are listed there too. I go over my website every so often to make sure all of the information I need is there. Haven't done that in a few months, so it's time for me to do that. The next link is for my Patreon. I do a public post once every week. I think it's every Friday. One of my posts goes public. I post 3 times a week for the members of Team LLFA. So if you join Team LLFA for $5 a month, $5 a month, that's not that much. I mean, it adds up though, believe me. I support a number of people on Patreon. But if you join Team LLFA for $5 a month, then you get access to all of my posts. And every month you also get a postcard from me with my featured image, which reminds me, I have this month's postcards I need to send out. Mental note to self. My Instagram is lotuslandfineart, and my Discord link is there. You can follow that link to join the Discord. Let me make sure that this link has not expired. Oh, that link expired. I'm going to have to change that. See, it's been a while since I've used this account, so I haven't checked on stuff the way I do on my other account. So I stream far more regularly my Sims gameplay on my other channel. My other channel here on Twitch is WLotus Everyday. So that's another way you can keep up with me when I'm not streaming here. And I also have a YouTube channel for my photography. The link is there. I can probably update that. I think I now have a custom link on YouTube. But again, it's been a while since I've done any kind of maintenance on this channel, so I'll have to go through and check that and update it if necessary, and kick Nightbot in the butt and get it to work on this channel again. Well, it's been a little bit over an hour. I'm done editing photos. I need to get up and stretch and all that good stuff. So I am really grateful that you are here and that you hung out with me while I edited photos. I really appreciate that, especially since I haven't been streaming much at all on this channel. Now that I have a computer that can handle me streaming while I do photo editing, and also now that I have more time on my hands, I was in a very intense training program for 4.5 months. Now I have time to go out with my camera and make photos, so I intend to be streaming over here far more regularly. Let me see if there is anybody I can raid. I don't follow a lot of people on this account. However, I follow a lot of people on my other Twitch channel. And I think I will surprise one of them and raid from this channel onto that one. And I see exactly, yep, I see who I want to raid. Okay, so if you are interested in The Sims 4, I'm going to raid someone called Just Being Cozy. She's a lot of fun. She's doing a charity stream, and I would like to support her charity stream. So I'm going to raid over to her. I do not have a raid command, but we can go over there anyway without a raid command. And if you hang out for the raid, I would appreciate that. And you can let her know that I sent you. It looks like she's just getting started good too. Okay, I'm going to start the raid. And we're going to go over there and spread some love to Just Being Cozy. Eros, thank you so much. You have a good night too. Thank you everybody who is hanging out. We're going to go over now and spread some love to her. I will see you next time.